Hey guys, Krista from Carolot Farm. It is the evening of the arrival of Fern, the winter storm. I am making my evening rounds, beginning to drop feed and hay for everyone. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This is the time I tend to feed, so I'm keeping what I can normal, but let me tell you, all of this sleet accumulation, that's not normal. I'm starting with Snuggles and Sweetheart. We are having a little lull in the precipitation, which is nice. I'm falling through, though, the frozen sleet. We have a huge packing here, and when I looked at our, what is that, a rain gauge, it said like 6 inches of sleet. When I checked the weather forecast, they're saying that we've had 24 inches here in the area. So I'm not sure if they're taking the sleet totals and kind of converting them to if they were snow. I could see 24 inches if this sleet had been snow. It's not near that thick, but we do have a lot of it. Poor Snuggles, she has chosen to stand outside as opposed to going into the barn for much of the day. And she is pretty well covered in icicles, as you can see. I've never seen this before, but she wants to eat, so let me let her into her feedlot real quick. Snuggles here is still happy to come into her feedlot and eat as usual. Here is a look at all of that sleet, though, that has accumulated on top of the roof in the neighboring feedlot. I'm feeding Sweetheart here in the stall tonight. It's different. She's not quite sure what to make of it, but with so much of that sleet accumulating on top of the roof to her run-in there, her feedlot, I would hate for anything to happen. So I'm feeding her in here just out of precaution. And if we don't get that lot cleared off, we'll continue to do this. I did feed Sweetheart in this feedlot in the morning. We didn't have near as much sleet accumulation. We maybe had 2 inches this morning, and it's every bit of 6, if not more now. As I'm filming, I'm like falling deeper into some of the sleet that I'm standing on. So forgive me if you see a funny jerking, but as the afternoon has gone on, the sleet has continued to fall, and it's very much like a compacted layer now. So kind of walking on top of the layer, much like the cats. It's an interesting experience. As the girls move about a little more here in front of the barn, luckily this sleet is getting a little more compacted and it's becoming a little more solid. It's not quite as slippery. So I'm happy for them because they were really uncomfortable moving about here. They were very uncertain because their feet would slip out here, their feet would slip in the stalls. But now that they have a little more traction, they seem to be a bit more comfortable. But like I told you, Snuggles still chose to stand out here in the sleet for much of the afternoon. So that makes me think she's not as comfortable as Sweetheart. But again, it's kind of the best I can do right now. I am needing to shovel away this accumulated sleet from the back of my gate and from behind my hay barn. I had to do the same as well in front of my tack room so that I can actually open the doors. Now that I have scraped a little pathway here using my shovel, I am going to take 1 flake of hay and split it among the 2 stalls. I will come back probably right after dark and give the girls a little more hay. I want to make sure that the hay lasts as long into the overnight hours as possible. So I'm just going to give them 1 flake now, kind of a nibble after they've had their evening grain. And then I'll come back and check on everyone, again, maybe 8 o'clock tonight. I will have to be mindful when I come back, though, this evening after dark, because where I have scraped with my shovel, it could likely become very slick. It just depends on what other precip begins to fall and how these black mats react. So note to self, I got to be careful later. I gave her a little teeny handful here in her feedlot while Sweetheart finishes eating, and she's very content. So I might go back and just put a small handful outside for her outside the stall. But I do hate the thought of her wasting the hay, but I also hate the thought of her not eating her hay. As I was just putting hay in the far stall here, I actually slipped myself as I stepped out of the stall onto that snow. I told you a moment ago I thought the traction was better. Well, it's not. And so I'm suspecting that is why Snuggles is refusing to go in the stall, and instead she is just standing out here. So I am putting a small pile of hay outside for her to eat. I do really want her to eat because it's cold and she needs to fill her belly to warm herself. And I feel pretty certain that Sweetheart will be happy to remain in her stall and eat the hay that I've put inside. I have seen that that's where she has been for much of the day today. But if I look outside and I see that Sweetheart is out here eating on the pile and Snuggles is not, I will come down and probably put a second pile out. But I'm really hoping to keep as much of the hay as possible in the stall where it will stay dry. I didn't even have time to turn Snuggles out of her feedlot, and Sweetheart is already out here eating this pile of hay. So I'm gonna pull another small pile out. It's unfortunately starting to sleet again, but these girls are really telling me that they don't wanna be in the stalls, they wanna be outdoors. So Snuggles is eating her hay, and Sweetheart has decided that with the falling sleet, she might just duck back indoors. So now that those two girls are eating, I'm gonna grab feed in the house and head out to the front paddock, and that's where I will feed Lady, Shenanigans, and Rockstar. But you know, sleet is falling like I told you. It's pretty miserable out here, but hey, that was to be expected. As I make my way out to the front barn, you can barely see my tracks from earlier. Rather than battle with the feedlot gates and moving sleet piles, I'm just feeding the boys here on the fence line. Lady, she is eating inside the run-in shelter. So I'm gonna close the gate just to keep the boys out. And as soon as she's done, I will open it back up to give them access. Closing Lady in the feedlot is proving to be a little trickier than I thought. I moved some sleet away earlier. I need to go find a shovel or just keep kicking at it because my gate is not budging. I do want to show you though, just what a good job this little blanket has done. When I put this on Lady several hours ago, her back was covered in sleet and ice, just like the boys and Snuggles. But after a few hours of having her blanket on her, not only has all of that ice melted, but she is dry underneath, and so I know she'll be warm. Lady's back was much like this a few hours ago, and that blanket has done such a good job. I will want to order a few more for everyone. I keep falling deeper and deeper into the sleet here, but I will want to go ahead and order blankets for everyone because I am finding that even though they have access to shelter, they're still standing out in the elements and they're getting colder and wetter and icier than I would have hoped and wanted. Around 11:30 this morning, I brought the boys and Lady a bucket of warm water, and I see they have drunk it all, so I will bring them more and likely an even larger bucket. I did just decide to let the boys in. Lady is still cleaning up her dinner, but because it is pouring down sleet, I mean, it is really falling right now, I wanted them to be able to come in and get out of it. I have spread a good portion of their hay over here by the wall. I have a little more behind me over here for Lady. So I want to make sure that everyone can have access to the shelter and have plenty to eat, which is why things are spread out even more so than I usually do for them. Normally these three get along real well, but I'm recognizing this kind of weather is making everyone just a little grumpier. I almost forgot to come and get the buckets for the boys. I'd be real sad in the morning when I got ready to make green if I didn't have them. So now that I have the buckets, I'm gonna grab Lady's buckets, and then I'm gonna head into the house and get some warm water for them. And then after that, everyone will be kind of ready to go for the next few hours. I will come back though, like I've told you, after dark, give everyone a little more hay, check on their waters one more time, and probably bring these guys another bucket of warm water because they're drinking it really well. So I could even offer some to Snuggles and Sweetheart, but I have seen them actively drinking from their de-icer trough, so I'm not as worried about them. As I step away, I'm happy to see though that both of the boys are tucked in under the run-in, out of the sleet, and Lady is quietly finishing up her grain, and both of them are getting a good nibble of hay. I don't know if you can see the sleet actively falling or hear it, but it's quite something. I've never experienced a sleet storm like this. It's still sleeting. I had to come all the way down to the barn though to get a water bucket larger than the little ones I had. So now that I have my water bucket, I have checked in on everyone down here. They're doing well. I'm gonna head back to the house, fill my buckets of warm water, and then trudge all the way back up front to give those three their bucket of warm water. But as you can see, I mean, it is still sleeting so heavily. This is a crazy storm. I don't know how long it'll be before I can say I have experienced something like this again. This is certainly a first though for a true sleet storm. All that's left to do now is haul my warm water out to the horses. Until after dark, that is. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. You know, it was a very interesting evening feeding with that heavy sleet that started falling. I did decide to change things a little, so routines were a little different. You know, we fed Sweetheart in the stall, not in her feedlot. We fed the boys out on the fence line, not in their feedlots. And so this weather is just making us kind of have to make these modifications and changes if and where needed. And another modification today has been bringing the horses warm water. So I will continue to do that. I know the horses are really appreciating it, especially Rocky. I keep saying it, but he is the most particular. And so when I see him drinking, it really reassures me that I'm doing the right thing by him. And I know the others appreciate it too. So check back soon because we will continue to give you updates as we navigate Fern and sort of the aftermath of Fern and what that looks like. I have no idea just how long this frozen sleet will stay around, but it's going to get really cold starting tomorrow. I say that. I mean, it's already cold, but it's in the 20s right now. And tomorrow evening it's going to start dropping down into the single digits, and that's going to remain the case for the next like 5 days or more. So super cold weather coming, and who knows when we'll thaw out. Stay warm, stay dry, stay safe, and we hope to see you in the future. Bye guys.